Hey there! Guess who's back? Back again. I don't know the lyrics. Anyway,
Welcome on this episode of Le HexaTrek, le Srou de France. After a few days to recover from the Alps in Grenoble, it is time to tackle the plateau of Le Vercors. In this episode, we'll be pushing a last climb to witness the halfway point of the HexaTrek, and we'll infiltrate the garden party of a small village during French National Day to live a real fête républicaine. But first, as I was doing a last cheese shopping spree in a random supermarket, a strange man approached me with a big smile. This former mountain special force of the Chasseurs Alpins recognized my beret from Instagram and insisted that I join him and his wife at their place with a view on the Mont Aiguille and walk with me the next day up the plateau du Vercors. When he mentioned local beers and his wife's saucisson, I knew I couldn't refuse. We had an amazing night and in the morning tackled a difficult climb up the plateau where I could finally ask him about the iconic hat from the Chasseurs Alpins.
so you were in the French military, your name is Dupont, and you're now wearing a beret. Can you tell me a little bit more about the beret, because it's a famous beret?
So this beret is the mountain troops beret. So it's a beret from Béarn, and they make this very tall beret. The first mountain troops, they used this beret as a protection for their feet. It was large enough to put their feet inside. So when it was cold in the winter, they could stay warm. They could also put some ash and tissue in it. Protection against rocks in the mountain when it falls. I won't try, but it's the perfect beret to protect you from the sun, the wind. You can put it in a different kind of way. So it's the traditional beret of the mountain troops. The name is La Tarte, which can be translated by the pie.
Yeah.
So the name is not very sexy, but the beret is. You can't go see a mountain troop man and making fun of his beret. It's not gonna be a good idea.
And I am extremely proud to announce that he has now soon a HexaTrek patch on this very special beret. I was also curious to see what kind of advice he would have for people wandering in French mountains for the first time.
If my military part takes the lead, I will say first of all, safety first. Safety first, because mountain is so beautiful that everybody thinks that I can go, okay, it's super easy, there is trek and trail everywhere, so it's fine. But in fact, it's not always fine. You just saw that the trek that we used was sometimes very steepy. So safety first, use good equipment, good shoes, good backpacks. You have to be sure of what you are doing. And if you know yourself and if you are humble enough to know what you can do and what you can't do, you will only can enjoy the superb landscapes that mountain can offer.
The Plateau du Vercors is quite a unique place. Its cliffs are easily recognizable and climbing them is quite an exhausting bit. But once you're on its plateau, you are in for hundreds of kilometers of nice and easy trails. Although, because of its soil, water can become quite scarce, and this year was a particularly dry one. Only a handful of sources were available, and only 2 of the whole crossing had water running, but drop by drop.
This was a system I found. To manage to get some water. You can see it's going, but it is the slowest rate ever. It's a little bit better than yesterday, but it's still very, very slow. You have another tent over there. Another one somewhere here. And everybody is just waiting in line. Because this source is the last source before 20 kilometers. And it's very, very slow.
But that didn't tone down my enthusiasm, as I was as ecstatic as a kid on Christmas morning, knowing that after months I'd finally be able to witness the Mont Aiguille, the symbol of this hike, and a mountain that I could never see with my bare eyes but 100 times on pictures.
Just woke up, and now the idea is to get over there, to get to the Grand Vermont. I just went on the Vercors, and has a crazy view on the beautiful Mont Aiguille. That is the symbol of the HexaTrek. So that's the idea this morning. That's why it's early. And having a source means that I can have a coffee, and that's impressive.
You have to understand that when choosing the logo for the HexaTrek, we wanted to pick a mountain that wouldn't be just the Alps or the Pyrenees, but that would look unique. We spent months working with our graphic designer to model it, seeing it from every angle. It felt like this big limestone eruption was an old friend, and I've been chasing it for 1,500 kilometers or so. Seeing it with my own eyes felt surreal. And that last climb on Le Grand Vermont, first and best viewpoint to admire it, had my heart pounding, and not just because of the steep rocky ascent.
And this is Le Grand Vermont. Probably from here. I can see my halfway point. Okay, there it is finally. The last climb. He's right there. He's just hiding. It always works. Here I am, at the halfway point of the HexaTrek. What you're seeing behind me is the Mont Aiguille. You can recognize it because it's right here on the beret as well. The Mont Aiguille has been a goal for me since the beginning of this trek because it is the halfway point of the HexaTrek, and it was very important to me in a very difficult moment to at least make it to this point. I really wanted to see this bad boy in the flesh or in the rock. Also, when you reach it and you do the HexaTrek, it means one thing. If you've done half of it, you're capable of doing the other half. So basically this, I mean, it's doable. I couldn't stop laughing when I saw it for the first time. And I can't stop looking at it. It's mesmerizing. It really is a pretty piece of rock. And I'm really glad it's our logo.
And the symbolism of the Mont Aiguille doesn't stop there. Until 1492, it was called the Mont Inaccessible, the Unreachable Mountain. That's when the French king, Charles VIII, took it as a personal challenge, as nothing should be inaccessible in his kingdom. He sent then Antoine de Ville, military captain used to storm castles, to climb that damn rock, which he did using a system of fitted ladders led directly against the walls. A perilous but successful climb that is known to be the birth of alpinism.
Okay, it's been 4 hours now that I am on top of Le Grand Vermont. I couldn't move. I just couldn't stop staring at Le Mont Aiguille. I've been dreaming of this place for so long. Now it's time to go. I didn't even check on the other side of Le Grand Vermont. I don't care. I just want to see that. I want to see further. I want to see where I'm going. It's the fucking Mont Aiguille. I'm so happy. It's really insane. It's really the best.
As I was lacking ladders to tackle this big boy, the next hours were an homage to the Mont as the trail takes us around so we can admire it from different angles. I found Lucas again on my route, and we decided to have one last night looking at his majesty.
I really thought it was over. I really thought that I would not see His Majesty, the Mont Aiguille, anymore. But here you can see him in the distance. His Highness, the Mont Aiguille. What a gorgeous puppy.
We had to push to exit the Vercors, as our water supplies were scarce. Climbing down was as rough as climbing up, but Cirque d'Archian was mesmerizing. We ended up in D for a very special occasion that would entrap us in an unexpected patriotic frenzy.
Today is a very special day in France. As you can see from all the flags, the French flags, today is National Day. You call it Bastille Day, we call it 14 juillet. We call it just 14th of July. And today we thought, yeah, we're going to cover some kilometers. But actually, we were still in D. And because it's the 14th of July, we decided to stay a little bit longer because there will be a parade, there will be something a little bit funky to see. So yeah, we're just going to enjoy.
It was such a simple pleasure to be part of the celebration in a small village, from the band reenacting Révolutionnaire, to the official ceremony where local political heads attributed medals to the fire brigade and official speeches. I was weirdly moved when the Marseillaise exploded. Crossing my country that I know so little about and having this French explosion in the middle felt motivating. I did have to be silly though and managed to hook my phone on the Bluetooth speaker to blast a few seconds of Celebration by Kool and the Gang that had La Députée dancing for a few seconds. We managed to follow this party with Lucas until the official gathering in the city hall, where we were showered in claret, the local champagne, and omelette slices. We were the last ones to go and hid the rest of the afternoon away from the blazing sun. I gathered some courage to attempt a last climb to bivouac and enjoyed, in contrast, a very peaceful evening, remembering the wise words of Ulric.
Enjoy. Enjoy. I really love hiking and trekking. It's perhaps one of the things I really enjoy the most. I hope everybody thinks the same, because walking in mountains, for sure, sometimes it can be hard, but after, when you take a good shower and have a good meal, you will always be happy to have been doing something quite hard. Here it's very super quiet. It's nice. It's fresh, quite fresh.
No,
quite fresh. Depends. So I think, in my point of view, you can only enjoy walking in the mountains.
See you in another episode.